Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
A local family narrowly escapes an apartment fire, but not without some bumps and bruises.
1 week after police say they robbed and attacked a 911 operator, 3 out of 4 suspects face a judge, and 1 has a little attitude.
And how gusty will it get? The winds are already swirling at speeds of up to 40 miles per hour, and this is likely to continue for several hours. Thanks for being with us for the news at 5. It could be a rough night tonight for power lines and garbage containers around Metro Detroit.
Ben, we talk a lot about wind advisories. This one's a high wind warning.
Yeah, usually with those advisories, it's nothing more than an inconvenience for a lot of us. This gets into the potentially damaging part of winds. Especially look out here just on the other side of Lake Michigan. O'Hare reporting a 53-mile-an-hour gust right now. Dubuque at 51. So you can see the shaded areas are 40-mile-an-hour plus gust, and most of that is just off to our southwest, and we will see those winds increase as the low that's driving this entire system moves in our direction. That's why we're under this high wind warning. It runs until 4 a.m. tomorrow morning, but it's really going to be between now and midnight that we're really focused on seeing the worst of the winds. And remember, 58 miles an hour, that's the threshold for a severe thunderstorm, and we're going to be very close to that with some of these straight line winds that we're expecting later on tonight. Temperatures are going to be rising, so we will be seeing rain coming with these potentially damaging winds. We'll be up to a 44-degree finish, but crashing tonight as we look at temperatures that are going to go below freezing. More on that and the potential icy commute in your 4-zone forecast coming up in a few minutes. Kim?
Okay, Ben, we do have some breaking news just into the Local 4 newsroom from Charleston, South Carolina. A federal jury has sentenced Dylan Roof to death for killing 9 black church members in a racially charged attack that happened last year. The jury reached the decision after 3 hours of deliberations. During sentencing, Roof represented himself and repeatedly told jurors he did not have a mental illness and did not offer any remorse. Roof is the first to get the death penalty for federal hate crimes. Coming up at 5:30, we'll take you inside the courtroom for today's sentencing.
3 teenagers charged today with armed robbery in the attack on a woman about to walk into the Detroit 911 call center to start her shift. Our Jason Colthorpe has been on this story from the very start. He's now live at 36th District Court downtown. We had 4 young men involved here, Jason.
Correct, Devin. The 4th one is a juvenile. More on him in a moment. But first, his cohorts, 2 17-year-olds and an 18-year-old, went before a judge today here at 36th District Court, and at one point seemed to get under her skin a little bit.
Good afternoon. We're going to get started in just a moment. If you could please bring the parties on Sutton, Robinson, and Goodman, please.
3 very young men standing shoulder to shoulder today to answer charges. They robbed a woman last Tuesday outside the 911 center on Linden. Surveillance shows 4 boys follow her from the bus stop, and just before the 48-year-old woman goes through the gate, they grab her, assault her, and rob her. Police say 3 of them were left to right: 17-year-old Latiah Sutton, 18-year-old Benny Robinson, and 17-year-old Marquise Goodman.
Count 1, defendants 1, 3, and 4, robbery armed.
At one point, Robinson, in the middle, gives the judge a little attitude.
Mr. Robinson, same question.
What was that charge? That was about action.
Mr. Robinson, we're going to go over your charge again. Each of you are charged with the same thing. Mr. Robinson, do you understand that?
Yes.
Police say the victim was able to draw on her 911 experience and give excellent descriptions of all 4 boys. The 4th boy in this is Jalen Hawkins. He's 16 years old. We're told he will be arraigned tomorrow. He is a juvenile, but he is being charged as an adult in this. Also, the 3 young men charged today, bond was set for each of them at $75,000 in full. We're live downtown tonight. Jason Colthorpe, Local 4.
Well, Jason, this woman did go to the hospital. So are there any assault charges here involved?
At this point, no assault charges, but the armed robbery charges for each of these defendants, Devin, does come with a maximum life sentence penalty.
Yeah. All right, Jason. Kim?
It's a scenario many of us have thought about. What would we do if we had to run out of our homes in a fire with only the clothes on our backs? For an Ypsilanti family, that became reality this morning. Our Priya man spoke with them in the wake of a very narrow escape.
There's a massive cleanup ahead as 18 families are unable to return home, including the young parents of a 3-month-old baby who were rushed outside without shoes or jackets, watching their home burn down.
Your adrenaline really pumped just trying to make sure your baby is okay. Like, you're not really concerned about none of your belongings or whatever you left behind. You're just trying to make sure your daughter is all right.
With their home in flames, these parents had only one concern: protecting their 3-month-old baby from the frigid cold.
She cried for a little bit when we got out to, in the snow, because it was snowing really bad around that time.
Police evacuated families around 1 Tuesday morning as the fire ripped through a home at the University Green Apartments in Ypsilanti.
We running out the building with no socks or shoes on, or let alone a coat.
Without a car to keep warm, they walked barefoot through the snow till they were finally let into another apartment lobby.
We didn't have nowhere to go, and even the people that was outside watching from the top building, they just didn't even bother letting nobody in.
In the chaos and panic of the evacuation, Makaira slipped from her parents' arms. The baby suffered a mild concussion and was treated at U of M. Like more than a dozen families, they're unable to return home and are staying with family.
It's more overwhelming because of the things that you lost that you can't regain back. And it's also scary because you've never been in the situation.
Now, the fire started on the 3rd floor. There were 2 women asleep inside the apartment at the time. Both of them had minor burn injuries to their faces. They were treated at the hospital and later released. Right now, the Ypsilanti fire chief says it could be about a month before some of these families are able to move back in. Reporting live, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Priya, are they saying what the cause of the fire is yet?
Kimberly, the fire chief says they may never be able to tell what the cause of the fire was. It could have been candles, cooking, a faulty appliance. They just don't know, but the damage is quite extensive.
But they escaped with their lives, which is most important, Priya. We appreciate it very much.
Vice President Joe Biden was in downtown Detroit today, and during his visit took a tour of the North American International Auto Show. Auto Show wasn't just an impromptu stop for the vice president. In fact, coming up at 5:30, we'll show you the real reason that he traveled to the Motor City today. Now, in a record auto sales era, the money is flowing. This year's show reflects that. Underneath the shiny veneer is another bonus, though: job opportunities. Turns out the auto show is more than just looking at cars. Business editor Rob Maloney live at the show with that unusual development for job seekers and even students, Rob.
Yeah, it's amazing, Devin. Now, this is Industry Days time now, and you've seen this where you see engineers going over cars and giving them the thorough once-over, so much so that it would make a doctor doing physicals blush, right? Well, it turns out now that the companies inside the building are saying, okay, see these engineers? We need you to come work for us. And they're going to be doing interviews right here where I stand.
Auto parts maker Denso needs engineers. In fact, in these go-go times, every manufacturer and supplier needs more engineers. They also need people who make the plants run, known as skilled tradespeople. Denso's Pam Gallucci chose the auto show to hold her interviews.
We are always looking for the best and the brightest in the industry to join us. So yes, as we continue to advance, as technology advances, we need those individuals to meet those demands.
Have a bachelor's degree in mechanical, electrical, software engineering, or embedded programming? Are you an electrician, tool and die, or machine repair tech? Denso also wants to hear from you. Now, the show this year also played host to more students who may not have previously considered the industry with all of this in mind. This group from the University of Michigan Center for Entrepreneurship brought students with in-demand skills to get a feel for what they could do to make a difference in the auto industry. Nahayan Bakar is from Bangladesh.
Automotive engineering and mobility have influenced me my entire life because, like New Yorkers or big city people here, I felt the pressures and the misfortunes of mobility.
Arthur Shee of Novi sees possibilities too.
I was down by Techstars Mobility a little earlier and seeing the startups there, the different types of technologies that they're working on and how the skills I'm trying to learn in school would be really relevant there.
Now, if you're interested in one of the jobs, just come look for the dragster here with the Denso sign on it. This is where they're going to be doing it, and it's going to be Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week. Again, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday next week here at the Denso stand. Also, the University of Michigan and Denso are getting together. Denso's going to build an R&D lab at the University of Michigan, and I have a hunch that they've got their eyes on those two guys in this story. Back to you.
All right, Rod. This Friday, of course, one of the biggest fundraisers of any year in Metro Detroit takes place at Cobo, and that is the charity preview. If you're not going to be there in person, don't you worry. We've got all the glitz and glamour covered for you. You can catch our charity preview special Friday from 7 to 8. We've got the stars, the fashion trends, and how all those cars glow and shine under the gala lights. Hope you'll join us. Kim?
Late last night, Local 4 cameras recorded this broken water main gushing water on Military Street on Detroit's west side, and it's been going all day. Coco McAvoy is there now with a progress report for us. Coco?
And Kimberly, there's really been no progress yet. We've been speaking with city officials and they've been very responsive to our calls, but they say they were not aware of the issue, so they haven't been out here yet to assess what's really happening. But I can tell you there's a strong smell of natural gas in the air, which is also a concern. But you can also see there's a lot of flooding in the area as well. And I put on my waterproof boots and you can see that walking through it, there's really not that much water. However, when you go into the street, you can see that there's some flooding in here as well. But also I want to show you there's water leaking from the side of the building and also the top of the building. So city officials say they are headed out here now to figure out what is going on out here. But we want to show you some video that we shot giving you a closer look at this issue. The water is nonstop flowing from these garage doors of this abandoned building here, and it's cascading onto Military Street. But what possibly caused this? Right now, city officials say they don't know, and it could be a number of things from a water main break to a broken pipe. But another question is, how long has this been a problem? And right now, that can't be answered either. But a passerby told us he noticed a problem yesterday as well. And city officials do say, however, that this is a concern, especially with that strong smell of natural gas that's in the air right now. So we're going to, of course, continue to check in with city officials throughout the day and the evening to figure out what's going on out here. And we'll also most likely be here when city crews arrive. Reporting live this evening from Detroit's west side, I'm Coco McAvoy, Local 4.
All right, Coco. We're used to seeing Michigan State Police cruisers look like this. Always the color blue. Still ahead, while you may now see troopers driving something quite different.
I'm Steve Handelsman on Capitol Hill, where Jeff Sessions is in the hot seat. Asked about race and, maybe more importantly, what Donald Trump will really do as president.
And the case against former MSU Dr. Larry Nassar grows. Hear from one of the 18 women accusing the longtime USA Gymnastics doctor of sexual abuse in a new lawsuit filed today.
New at 6.
Fighting Fouts, a new push to get the Warren mayor out of office nearly a month after secret recordings first surfaced. Priya?
A man convicted of leaving the scene of a deadly hit and run and then later torching the vehicle to try to cover his tracks was sentenced today. We'll tell you what he said in court and how much time he'll spend in prison.
A former Michigan State University doctor and doctor for USA Gymnastics who is facing criminal sex charges is now facing a civil lawsuit. Dr. Larry Nassar, who had a sports medicine practice at MSU, is charged with criminal sexual abuse and child pornography. Now 18 girls and women are suing him, MSU, and USA Gymnastics, saying Nassar sexually abused them. One of those women is going public, saying her trust was betrayed.
It was impossible to entertain the idea that he could be held out as this physician who had these excellent medical treatments, who could be held up by USAG and MSU as one of their premier physicians, and yet be a predator.
Michigan State University is not commenting on the lawsuit. They say campus police are investigating. MSU fired Nassar last year.
Jeff Sessions in the hot seat with a little less than 10 days until the inauguration. The first Senate confirmation hearing for a Donald Trump cabinet pick is focusing on race and whether Sessions would bend U.S. law to the right. Steve Handelsman has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Good evening. Jeff Sessions is personally liked by many here on Capitol Hill. That's helping him up here today. And so is the preparation done, obviously, by the Attorney General nominee for what he clearly sees as a kind of a do-over.
Will be the truth, the whole
Jeff
truth.
Sessions is very conservative, but was he a racist?
This caricature of me in 1986 was not correct.
Seeming to some then to accept the Klan cost him a federal judgeship.
It was very painful. I didn't know how to respond.
Today, Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General is a savvy senator, admitting systemic discrimination.
We can never go back.
Protesters yelled KKK. Some black lawmakers opposed Sessions.
Because we don't want the fox to guard the hen house.
And the hearing got tested.
I'm talking about the bill that is the law today.
I'm trying to answer.
His answer on banning Muslims is no.
That Muslims as a religious group should be denied admission to the United States.
He said he accepts abortion rights and same-sex marriage, not illegal immigration, but admitted deporting millions is not possible.
Let's fix this system. And then we can work together after this lawlessness has been ended.
As the first senator to endorse Trump, Sessions called for prosecution of Hillary Clinton. He promised today to recuse himself if her case gets revived. And Sessions said he would say no to Donald Trump if the new president tries to break U.S. law. And much of this hearing is senators trying to pin down Trump by getting Sessions to commit to what the new White House plans on legally controversial issues. From Capitol Hill, Steve Handelsman, Local 4.
All right, Steve, and speaking of the president-elect, stick with Local 4 and click on Detroit.com. We'll have complete coverage of his first news conference since the election. That is scheduled to happen tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Meantime, President Obama returning to Chicago tonight to give his farewell address. You can watch that right here on Local 4 starting tonight at 9 p.m.
Apparently the wind is going to be a big deal here.
Because we haven't had enough weather fun today. Boy, it was a mess this morning.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, we got the warmer temperatures and we thought, okay, we're in the clear. And now here comes the wind. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. It's kind of a messy map here, but I wanted to explain exactly what's going on. Keep an eye on those circles that are out here in the left portion of your screen. This is where the actual low pressure center is that is moving across the area right now. And as that low gets deeper, these circles start moving closer together, and that's what's increasing the wind. In fact, just above the surface, we're talking about 1,500, 2,000 feet off the ground. We expect that those wind gusts are already at 65 to 70 miles an hour. It's not going to take a lot to pull some of those wind speeds right to the surface. That's what makes the forecast pretty tricky, is what's going to bring that down. Well, first thing is going to be this cold front that comes through. The showers along that also could be pulling those winds down. And as those lines get tighter around that low, the wind speeds also could be bringing down some even faster winds as we get on the backside of that low. So even though we're looking for the winds to sort of peak here at 8, 9 o'clock as that cold front comes through, we're still going to have very windy conditions as we get through the night tonight. Plenty of rain that we are tracking along that cold front right now in the western part of the state. That's on its way as well. So not only is it going to be windy, but it is going to be wet as well. Would not want to be on a plane taking off out of Metro or coming in. In fact, we've already got delays coming out of Chicago towards Metro because of the winds out there are even faster than what we're seeing here. Only gust of 36 right now, but remember, we're anticipating gusts getting at least up to 60 miles an hour in some spots tonight. This is the current wind gust picture, 41 out in Howell, 40 in Jackson. Everything that's shaded here is where I think those wind gusts are at 40 miles an hour plus at the surface. So overnight tonight, the showers will come in. Cold front crosses through before we talk to you at 11 o'clock. Behind that, temperatures are going to drop off pretty quickly. So we'll likely see our high around midnight. We'll drop down below freezing. So that means a lot of this slush is going to freeze solid as we head towards tomorrow morning. And then we've got more rain on the way on Wednesday. Temperatures back up into the 40s. It's going to be quite a roller coaster here as we get through the next several days. Let's look at lows tonight, because this is going to make tomorrow morning's commute even trickier for different reasons. Again, this is going to be that frozen slush as temperatures drop down to 28 in the metro zone. Some slightly cooler numbers there in the northern part of the zone. 24, 25 is what we're expecting in our south zone. Very similar numbers out west, anywhere between 24 in Flint, 25 in Canton, and could see lows as low as 23 or even 22 up in Sanilac County as we head into tomorrow morning. There's that late high temperature tomorrow at 44 degrees, and over the next 7, we've got a cold weekend ahead of us. Highs in the 20s, lows coming back to the teens before we go back to the 40s early next week. So definitely keeping things interesting, but could get dangerous tonight, especially for the next 3 hours.
Better bear watching. All right.
Thanks, Ben. Still ahead, why people looking to buy or sell sex online got a rude awakening today.
And coming up next, a wild animal with high-end taste in cars. We'll see how sales staff responded when a deer wandered into an auto dealership when we come back. In Georgia, some frightening moments for a deer that found himself stuck in a car dealership. The unexpected visitor apparently jumped into a Lexus dealership, so apparently a deer who had a few bucks. Got in through an open window. You can see thank you, Kimberly. You can see the confused deer running through the dealership, trying to find a way out. A car salesman, sliding across the floor. Car salesman later helped the little guy get safely out of the building.
Had a few bucks, but he realized the prices were too high and he got out of there. Michigan State Police patrol cars may be looking a little bit differently here soon. That's because MSP is getting 50 special edition retro style black and gold patrol cars. It's to mark their 100th anniversary. State Police actually got started with black and gold cars back in 1937, like the one you see there on the left, before switching to the current blue in 1954. Each of their 30 posts will get at least one special edition car for patrolling and special events. The cars will hit the roads on Wednesday.
Tonight's Help Me Hank, an innovative attempt to boost its embattled reputation. Wells Fargo will soon offer its customers a way to withdraw cash from an ATM without using a card. Starting in the spring, customers will be able to use their smartphones to withdraw money. They will first have to log on to the Wells Fargo app and then request an 8-digit access code. Then enter the code at a kiosk. Their regular ATM code would start the transaction.
New at 5:30.
We've heard a lot in recent years about the declining population of bees, but that situation just became more urgent with a historic announcement today. Plus, how Dylan Roof made it clear today he doesn't feel remorse for the massacre he committed at a South Carolina church.
Vice President Joe Biden in Detroit today talking about the city's possibilities. We'll tell you how it resonated with some of the city's newest entrepreneurs.
Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5:30 starts now.
Joe Biden spending part of his final 10 days as vice president here in Detroit, and it came as a big thrill to some local entrepreneurs. Let's start there at 5:30. Motor City Match, a familiar term to many of us around here. And today, the vice president of the United States got to see it up close.
It was a very busy day for him, seeing so many things for the VP. We saw him during the tour of the auto show earlier, but Jason Colthorpe is live this evening with a look at the real reason behind Biden's visit. Jason.
Well, guys, the Motor City Match this year, bigger than ever. I mean, you're talking about $600,000 in grant money. It's the 6th round they've done this, and again, it's the biggest ever. 15 entrepreneurs getting that grant money, and Joe Biden had a very touching and at times genuine, and he was warmly witted. Of course, he's friends with the mayor, Mike Duggan, talking to them about his times when he had dinner with him a few years ago. But today, his message was very simple. These entrepreneurs are now, if they weren't inspired before, they certainly are now with all these possibilities in Detroit.
And we bet on the industry. We bet on Detroit. We bet on the mayor. We bet on all of you.
The gamble Vice President Joe Biden is referring to is the government's intervention to save Detroit. Because as he told a crowd of Motor City Match recipients, how can you let Detroit go under when Detroit is America?
We always overcome. We always move forward. That's America. And Detroit is the single shining example if you want to pick up any one place in America.
Excited because she's moving back home.
That there is no way that I'm not going to succeed.
Charisma Pringle, who her mother calls a pit bull in a skirt, is moving her jewelry and design business, Casting de Chrysopia, forward thanks to a $35,000 grant.
My idea for this is to bring people, designers that wouldn't normally come to Detroit to manufacture. I want to bring them here.
She's a girl from the Brightmoor neighborhood that's taken her business to Paris and now back home to Detroit.
All sterling silver solid, hand carved and casted.
And at just 23, she and her developer have a vision to transform the troubled area at 16th and Grand River into a bustling business district.
It's going to be vibrant. That's really what you need. All what you need is the mentality to believe in yourself and to trust the process and to realize that anything is possible.
Exactly the sentiment of the VP today.
So Detroit, all of you in this room, I mean it sincerely, America owes you.
Possibilities was his theme today. And of course, earlier you saw Joe Biden make a stop at the auto show. after lunch with the mayor at the Manoogian Mansion. Well, after that, he stopped at Great Lakes Coffee and chatted up some customers there as we tagged along to see what he was up to today in Detroit. Of course, now he's on his way to Chicago for President Barack Obama's farewell address tonight there. We're live downtown tonight. Jason Colthorpe, Local 4.
Oh, so much to be proud of in our city and our accomplishments and our entrepreneurs. A great day for a visit. Thank you, Jason.
Well, came over here to see what Ben's doing. Interesting, you're using readings and readouts right now that you usually use for thunderstorm season rather than the winter.
It's got more sort of similarities to what we see in the middle of May and June than it does into January. So this is what we're looking at is Doppler wind speeds, and the red and the green show you where the towards and away winds are going for the radar, which is that site right there. Look at the wind speeds that we are seeing just off to the other side of the radar site as we put those speeds on here. 62 miles an hour is what we're getting, and that distance is not very far up in the atmosphere. Very similar numbers on the other side of that radar site, about 60 miles an hour. And again, that's off the surface. It's not going to take a lot to draw those down and cause some potentially damaging winds right at the ground level. So we're going to show you where the radar is right now, and the showers just starting to come into the western section of the area. So we're going to see some rain to go along with that wind as well. Even though we're not at peak wind gusts just yet, these winds are still 30, 40 mile an hour gusts out there as we speak. So be very cautious, especially in that line of showers as it works in from the west. Coming up, we'll look at your forecast and the roller coaster we're going to be on over the next few days. Guys?
Well, if you're just joining us, we are following breaking news from Charleston, South Carolina, where church shooter Dylan Roof has been sentenced to death for his racially charged attack in 2015. Local 4's Sarah Rosario was there as the verdict was announced.
The death penalty. That is the verdict from the same jury who last month convicted Dylan Roof of murder and hate crimes for the 2015 church shooting in Charleston. 9 people were killed, all black members of the historic Emmanuel AME Church who were there attending a Bible study where Roof, an avowed white supremacist, opened fire. During the penalty phase of the trial, prosecutors called more than 24 witnesses and showed jurors family photos of the victims enjoying life. One by one, relatives and friends told heart-wrenching stories of their love and loss after Roof targeted the Bible study group. Some of the most harrowing testimony came from the widow of the Reverend Clemente Pickney, who hid beneath a desk in the next room with her 6-year-old daughter as shots rang out. Roof represented himself but did not call any witnesses or present any evidence, telling the jury during opening statements, quote, "There's nothing wrong with me psychologically." Prosecutors also showed jurors a journal Roof kept after his arrest. "I do not regret what I did," he wrote. "I have not shed a tear for the innocent people I killed." Now the jury has decided Roof should be executed for his crimes.
Reporting in Charleston, Sarah Rosario, Local 4.
All right, thank you, Sarah. The massive manhunt continues right now in Florida after a police officer was shot and killed. Master Sergeant Deborah Clayton was killed yesterday morning in Orlando. Police say 41-year-old Markeith Lloyd is the shooter. Lloyd, who was already on the run after being accused of killing his ex-girlfriend, hasn't been seen since yesterday morning. Today, Orlando police held a news conference where the chief said they're doing everything in their power to catch the alleged shooter.
We have hundreds of officers and deputies working to capture him and bring him to justice. There are teams of detectives assigned to follow every single lead and for his capture.
As the search for Lloyd continues, police have increased the reward to $100,000 for any information leading to his arrest.
We have been hearing about the decline in bumblebees for years, but today, for the first time ever in the United States, a species of bumblebee is being put on the endangered species list. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service officially placed the rusty-patched bumblebee on that list today. The bee, as you might suspect from its name, recognized by its rust-colored back. It has seen its population decline by nearly 87% since the late 1990s due to habitat loss and pesticides.
Tonight we know what exactly killed Hollywood legend Debbie Reynolds. According to the Los Angeles death certificate, the 84-year-old died from a blood vessel that ruptured and caused bleeding in her brain. The Singing in the Rain star died December 28th after suffering a stroke at her California home. Her daughter Carrie Fisher died a day earlier from a heart attack. Both were laid to rest last week.
The website Backpage.com has shut down all of its adult ads after the company says they received immense pressure from the U.S. government. A Senate report called the site the largest advertising platform for sex services in the United States. And that website leaders have publicly acknowledged that the site is used for sex trafficking. Backpage firing back against the federal report, calling the suspension unconstitutional censorship.
What happened to Danielle Slicky? That is the question her family and law enforcement has been trying to answer for the past 39 days after she disappeared after working her job at MetLife in Southfield. Bright, young, and beautiful.
Help us bring Danielle home.
She walked out of work more than a month ago, never to be seen again.
I think the last text message was confirmation to her friend that, yes, I have been able to get off early. Let me swing home real quick, pack a bag, and I'll meet you there.
Sharing some things you may not know. Could this local home hold the keys to help solving the mystery?
Our concern is that Danielle is somewhere being held, not by her choice.
Oh, your heart breaks when you have parents talking. And there's so many different pieces to this, so we go through day by day, go through the investigation, put it all together, and to talk with some sources and have some updated information for everyone.
We're though now more than a month past, and police always say that, you know, each day that passes, it gets harder and harder to piece it back together. So the frustration's got to be really mounting.
It's hard for them, but that's why it's so important to put the story back in the spotlight and remind people, because there's some certain things that happen that might trigger some memories.
We always point that out. Even though something you think was inconsequential, something little, police may not see it as inconsequential or little. Yeah.
So that is tonight at 11.
You bet. More on that at 11 o'clock. Also coming up here now next at 5:30, it's not exactly the Elephant Man's bones, but there are some interesting new revelations about what music legend Prince did with his money.
Plus a huge honor for homegrown Detroit rap star. The gig Big Sean has landed that has him so excited. Hi, Doc.
Hey guys, wish you could stress less? Coming up, I'll show you 4 ways to ease your body and mind, including one trick you can try anywhere.
Got your pop? New at 6.
It's January. It's auto show time. It's freezing outside.
Every single car, I have an emotional attachment.
And it was that warmth that Ford auto engineer decided to give you the luxury that you would want inside this car. What was her inspiration? We'll tell you ahead.
All right, Rod, also a dental dream. Imagine having a cavity and instead of needing a dentist drill, your teeth just repair themselves. At 6, yes, I know.
Sign me up.
This is one step closer to reality. That perked up everybody's attention. Yeah. Now to good health, vowing to stress less.
If you think or you feel like your life is one never-ending to-do list, well, Dr. Frank McGeorge is here with some advice to ease your body and mind.
Your life is one never-ending to-do list, so
it is.
Perfect
so I'm
going
to pay some attention. That's exactly right. You know, most New Year's resolutions focus on diet or exercise, but another one of the biggest health issues right now is stress. So we asked a local stress reduction expert to share her top 4 resolutions to stress less in the new year.
Is stress your constant companion? Before you can tackle it, you have to admit it.
First off, recognize that you're having stress. And that sounds so simple, but so many people, day after day, week after week, even months and years, are feeling stress and anxiety, but actually don't acknowledge it.
Gail Patricolo is the director of integrated medicine at Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak. She says excess stress is making us sick and unhappy.
So many of us have difficulty finding happiness in our lives because we are so stressed.
Patricolo's second step for stress release is simple.
Number 2 is just breathe. As adults, we don't breathe properly. We run around all day long in our busy lives, taking short, shallow breaths from our chest. We are meant to breathe deep from our diaphragm, and we teach patients to do that by putting a hand under their breastbone on their belly, one on their chest, and when they breathe in slowly, to fill the belly hand first. So we're meant to fill the diaphragm like a balloon, the base of the balloon all the way up to the collarbone, and then gently exhale. If you take just 3 to 5 proper slow breaths, you automatically move yourself from a stress response into a relaxation response. It's so simple. You can do it anywhere, anytime. It doesn't cost anything.
Step 3 is also free.
Third, one of my favorites is laughter. So when we laugh, we actually create endorphins that help cancel the stress messages in our body. But as adults, we take ourselves too seriously. We need to lighten up.
Finally, while activities like yoga, meditation, and guided imagery all offer benefits, Patricolo says it's key to find the right stress-reducing activity for you.
Fourth thing I would say is find what's right for you. So what I like to reduce stress in my life, you might not like.
Now, she actually shared the story of a patient of hers. He was a hard-driving businessman who was fighting cancer. He tried yoga, hated it, tried all sorts of other activities, same thing. Finally, she asked him to close his eyes and picture a time when he felt at peace, and he said fly fishing. So that became his stress-reducing activity, and it worked for him.
Physician, heal thyself. What did you pick up from that for yourself, for your own very busy life?
I have to find my happy place. I don't know, I'm still looking.
The breathing, though, is something you can do every day.
And
that's
right.
not,
Right.
and that, I think, helps everyone.
And you have to make some special time for yourself, actually.
All right. Thank you very much, Doc.
Well, here's what Hank Winchester is working on for tomorrow.
A Detroiter battling the water department over a situation that has not been resolved for months. We investigate, and you'll see how we come to the rescue.